The stranger by the river. The sun was setting behind the mountains when Jack walked through the valley. He liked to come here after work, away from the noise, the people, the stress. The river was calm, and the trees whispered softly in the wind. But this time something felt wrong. As he reached the edge of the riverbank, he noticed something strange. Footprints, not normal ones. These were deep, wide, and had only 3 toes. He bent down, touched the soft mud, and felt a chill. "These aren't from any animal I know," he whispered to himself. Curious, he followed the trail. The prints went across the rocks, through the tall grass and into the trees. After a few minutes, he heard something. Soft, broken breathing, then a cough. He moved slowly, careful not to scare whatever was ahead. And then he saw her. She was lying under a tree, half hidden behind the bushes. A woman, but not human. Her skin was pale silver, almost glowing in the fading sunlight. Her arms were long and slim, her eyes large and violet like deep pools of stars. Her clothes were torn and burned. She looked weak, wounded, lost. For a moment, Jack just stood there, unsure what to do. Then she opened her eyes and looked at him. She flinched. Her hand moved towards something on her belt, but it was broken. No weapon, no strength, just fear. Jack slowly raised his hands. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently. "You're safe." She didn't understand the words, but maybe she felt the tone. She didn't move. Jack took off his backpack, pulled out a bottle of water, and placed it on the ground in front of her. Then he stepped back. She stared at it. Her lips were dry. After a long pause, she crawled forward, picked up the bottle, and drank. He saw her hands shaking. "Who are you?" he asked softly. She tried to speak. Her voice was cracked, alien, but somehow soft. "No. Place. Go." It was broken. English, but it was enough. Jack sat down a few feet away. He didn't want to scare her. She needed help. "What happened to you?" She looked at the sky, then closed her eyes and whispered something in her own language. Her voice was full of pain and loneliness. Jack watched her for a long time. She was different, clearly from another world, but she wasn't dangerous. She looked more scared than anything. He took off his jacket and gently placed it over her shoulders. "You can rest," he said. "I'll be here." She looked at him again. Her eyes weren't just violet. They were tired, as if she had seen too much. But this time she didn't flinch. She didn't run. She just closed her eyes and leaned back against the tree. Jack sat beside her, staring at the darkening sky. He didn't know who she was or where she came from, but one thing was clear. She had nowhere else to go. And somehow, without saying it, he knew. She needed him. A shelter of stones. The fire was small, but it gave enough warmth for both of them. Jack had set it up just before nightfall. The alien woman, Riva, as he would later learn her name, sat across from him, wrapped in his jacket. Her silver skin glowed softly in the firelight. She hadn't said much, just watched him, like a wild animal unsure if the human before her was a friend or another hunter. She was cold, hungry, lost. But she didn't ask for help. She sat in silence, proud, as if begging was not in her blood. Jack respected that, the gear. Next morning, without saying a word, he walked to the river's edge. He looked at the rocks scattered around the ground. Then he chose one, flat, wide, and strong, and carried it back to the spot near the fire. Riva watched with sharp eyes. Jack set the rock down. Then he brought another, and another. By the 10th rock, Riva stood up. She walked over and tilted her head, confused. "Why, stones?" Jack wiped the sweat from his forehead. "You need a home," he said, "and I can't give you a spaceship, but I can give you walls." She didn't fully understand his words, but she understood his hands, working, building, offering. The alien woman knelt beside him. She touched one of the stones gently like it was something sacred. Then slowly, she helped lift one and passed it to him. Jack smiled. They didn't speak much that day, but they worked side by side. A circle of stones formed, small at first, then taller. Riva helped fit the rocks together in ways Jack wouldn't have thought of. Her fingers were thin but strong, and her alien knowledge seemed to know how to balance one weight with another. By sunset, the rough frame of a hut stood between them and the world. It wasn't much. Just stone and dirt. No roof yet. But it was theirs. That night, Jack made a second fire inside the half-built hut. Riva sat closer now, her back not turned like before. She took a piece of fruit from his bag and ate it without fear. Then she said one word. Safe. Jack looked at her. Yes, he said. Safe. She placed her hand on her chest. Riva. He pointed to himself. Jack. She nodded slowly, repeating, Jack. Something changed that night. It wasn't just shelter they were building. It was trust. Jack woke up before sunrise. The fire was cold. The stone hut was silent, and Riva was gone. His heart jumped. He stepped outside, scanning the fog-covered valley. Riva, he called. No answer, only the sound of wind moving through the trees. Her blanket was still inside. Her strange three-toed footprints led away from the hut, deep, fast steps, as if she had left in a panic. Jack grabbed his coat and followed. He moved quickly through the trees, listening for every sound. Then he found it. Something half-buried. In the soil, a metal shard, black, burnt, not human. Jack picked it up. The edge still smelled of smoke. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from the trees behind him. He turned fast, fists ready. Nothing. But something was watching. He wasn't alone anymore. Just then, a voice, shaky and full of fear, whispered behind a bush. Jack. He ran over and found Riva, crouched low, her violet eyes wide and shining with fear. Her hands were shaking. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Riva, what happened? She looked at him. Her lips trembled. Then she spoke slowly. They are near. Jack's stomach tightened. Who? She didn't answer. Instead, she held out her arm. Her wrist had 3 strange marks burned into the skin, fresh, red, and glowing slightly in the early light. Tracker, she whispered. I was hunted. She told him the truth, finally. Her ship had crashed weeks ago. She was not the only survivor. The others were taken. By them, a species called the Drovek, cold, ruthless, and armed with machines that tracked biosignatures. They didn't want Riva alive. They wanted her erased, silenced, and now they knew where she was. Jack helped her to her feet and brought her back to the hut, but the peace they once had was broken. That night, Jack placed stones over the door, not to keep weather out, but to keep something worse from getting in. Riva sat in the corner, quiet, holding a metal piece from her broken ship. Her hand slowly scraped symbols into the stone wall. Jack couldn't read them, but one looked like a warning. The next morning, strange claw marks were found on the edge of the trees, long, deep, fresh, and one rock outside the hut had been moved. By something strong, by something close. The past Riva tried to escape from was here, and this time, it was coming for both of them. The attack in the dark, the sky turned red at sunset. Jack stood at the edge of the trees holding an old hunting rifle. He hadn't fired it in years. It felt too light in his hands now, too small for what was coming. Inside the stone hut, Riva pressed her fingers against the wall. Strange symbols glowed faintly where she had scratched them. They weren't just words. They were wards, old alien warnings, maybe even protection. But even she didn't know if they'd work on the Drovek. She turned to Jack. We fight, or run? Jack looked at her, then at the valley below. He shook his head. Not running, he said. Not anymore. That night clouds covered the moon. The valley was drowned in black silence. Then came the sound, a sharp buzz, high in the sky. Riva froze. Scan drone. They ran outside. Above them, a triangle-shaped craft hovered silently. A red light flickered beneath it, sweeping slowly left and right, searching. Down. Jack pulled Riva behind the hut. The light passed inches from them, humming low like a whisper of death. Riva's breath caught. Her skin pulsed faintly in the dark, glowing silver blue with fear. Then crack! A blast of light struck the ground near the hut. Jack didn't think. He grabbed Riva's hand and pulled her toward the underground chamber they had dug days earlier. It was meant for storing supplies. Now, it was the only place to survive. They dropped into the cold hole and pulled a stone slab over the top. Darkness swallowed them. Above, the drone moved in slow circles. Then it stopped. Footsteps. Heavy. Metallic. Someone was outside. Riva closed her eyes. Drovek scout. One only. One is bad enough, Jack whispered. They listened. Crunch. Crunch. Silence. Then, boom. The stone wall shook. Another boom. The drone had fired again, trying to blast the entrance open. Jack reached into his pack, pulled out a wire, a battery, nails. What are you doing? Riva whispered. Teaching them what a human trap looks like, he said. He crawled out the back exit, through a small tunnel he had dug secretly for escape. The scout didn't know it existed. Jack moved fast in the dark. The scout stood outside the hut, tall, armored with glowing red eyes. He rigged the trigger near the stone roof, tied the wire, then threw a rock. The scout turned. The trap triggered. Crash, the sea. Roof collapsed, pure weight, stone smashing down like thunder. The drone's red light blinked once, then died. Silence returned. Riva emerged slowly. She saw the ruins of the hut, then saw Jack, covered in dust, still alive. She ran to him. You crushed your shelter? Jack nodded, breathing hard. Better to break stone than let them take you. She looked at him, not with fear now, but awe. Aliens had always seen humans as messy, emotional, unpredictable. But Riva had just seen something else. Humans could protect, even if it meant burning everything down to do it. She learns what home really means. For the first time in weeks, Riva slept without fear. No drones above, no metal footsteps in the dark, only the sound of water flowing gently from the river and the soft breath of the human beside her. The hut was gone, crushed during the attack. But Jack had already started building again, this time not just with stone. He used tree branches, dry clay, and even some broken metal pieces from the drone's wreckage. But something else had changed, not just outside, inside Riva. She sat by the fire, holding one of the heavy stones from the old wall. Her fingers slowly carved shapes into it, human letters. Jack walked over and saw what she was writing. Safe, he looked at her. You wrote that? She nodded. You said it. First day. Jack smiled. Yeah, I remember. Riva placed the stone next to the new wall. It is still true, she said quietly. In the days that followed, they worked like a team. Jack showed her how to cut wood with human tools. Riva showed him how to bend vines to hold walls stronger. He built the roof. She shaped the doorway to curve like the homes from her own world. One morning, Riva stood outside the nearly finished shelter and looked around. Mountains, trees, a sky with 2 moons no longer hunting her. It was not the world she was born in, but it was the first one where no one wanted her dead. Jack, she said. He turned, holding a hammer. This is home? She asked, unsure of the word. Jack stepped beside her, looking at what they built. It is if you say it is. That night, Riva sat by the fire and told him things she had never spoken aloud. I was second born, she said softly. My people only cared for firstborn heirs. I was trained to fight, to follow, not to feel. Jack listened without interrupting. They called me cold, empty. She touched the side of the hut. But here, she whispered, I feel full. She looked at Jack. Not because of stones or food, but because someone stayed. Someone chose me when they didn't have to. Jack didn't know what to say, so he didn't say anything. He just reached out and placed a hand gently on her shoulder, and that was enough. Later that night, Riva carved another word into the wall. Home not in her language, in his. Jack woke up early the next morning and saw it. He smiled, but deep inside, he also felt something he hadn't let himself feel in a long time. Hope. Because for the first time, this wasn't just a rescue. It was the beginning of something far greater. Not just survival, but belonging. An offer. She never thought she'd make. Jack found the letter stuck in the side of a tree, written in English, though he never taught Riva how to write. It was from them, an alien envoy, not Drovek, a different group, more polished, more dangerous. In another way, they knew Riva was alive, and they had a deal. You are human. You understand trade. Give her to us and you will be rewarded. Land, supplies, technology, and peace. No war, no blood, just one life. For your future. Jack crushed the letter in his fist. Later that night, he didn't say anything. He just stared into the fire. Silent, Riva noticed. What is wrong? She asked, sitting beside him. He didn't answer, so she stood. Walked to the doorway, and without turning around, she said something that broke the quiet. You could sell me. Jack finally looked up. You knew? I saw the drone hours ago. It was theirs, sleek, gold, not Drovek. The others, the rich ones. Jack got up, angry not at her but at the world. I'm not trading you. She turned, eyes glowing faintly in the firelight. Why not? She asked softly. You owe me nothing. You didn't know me. You still don't. You're right, Jack said. But I saw you bleeding under a tree. I saw you build with me. I saw you carve the word home. That's more than I've had in years. Riva stepped closer, studying him. If I had something to give, she said slowly. Something valuable. Would you take it? Jack frowned. What are you talking about? Riva took a breath, heart pounding in her chest. Her voice was softer now, more human than alien. My people, she said. They choose mates by offering what matters most. Jack's eyes widened slightly. Riva, I offer my freedom, she said. Not as a prisoner, but as a partner. The fire between them cracked loudly, but neither flinched. I'm not asking for love, she added. Not yet. I only ask. If I stay, I do it by choice, not by hiding, not by fear. Jack stepped forward, slow, careful. Then stay, he said. Not because I saved you, but because this is your home now. Ours. Riva looked at him, truly looked. And then, for the first time since the crash, she smiled. A real smile, small, gentle, but real. The deal was still out there. The other aliens might return, but tonight, no one was for sale. Tonight, something stronger was exchanged. Trust. The fortress of stone and stars, the stars blinked quietly above, the valley, unaware of the storm coming. Jack stood on a high ridge holding a pair of old binoculars. Behind him, smoke rose gently from the rebuilt stone hut, no longer just a shelter, but now a home. Strong walls, reinforced door, roof lined with solar panels from a destroyed drone. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. He adjusted the lens and saw them. 3 ships. Not Drovek, not scouts, warships. They glided through the sky like sharks in water, quiet, but deadly. Jack lowered the binoculars, face tight with focus. He walked back down the slope where Riva was waiting. She was working on something, a large circular symbol etched into the dirt, alien patterns glowing faintly in the moonlight. "Are you sure this works?" he asked. She looked up. "Not sure," she said, "but it's better than nothing." Jack smirked. Story of our life. They had been preparing for days. After the second drone flew past, they knew a full force would follow. But running wasn't an option anymore. This was home. They wouldn't leave it behind. Riva had placed energy rods from the crashed drone around the edges of the valley. She linked them with vines soaked in oil, creating a basic alarm system. Jack had laid traps, spike pits, stonefall triggers, old human tripwires, not high-tech, but deadly. They called it the Circle. The valley wasn't just a hiding spot now. It was a fortress. That night they shared a meal by the fire. No fear in their voices now, only a calm, quiet acceptance. "I used to dream of escaping," Riva said, staring at the flames. "Now, I dream of staying." Jack didn't speak. He just placed his hand over hers. Suddenly the alarm vine snapped. Snap, snap. Shh. They both stood fast. The night exploded. A blast of blue light hit the ground near the hut. Another beam lit up the trees. Jack grabbed his rifle. Riva activated the stone symbol. It sent out a pulse, and nearby energy rods lit up like fireflies. The yaoi fight had begun. Metal footsteps slammed into the dirt. 6 armored invaders wearing golden suits and black visors marched toward the hut. They carried rifles that hissed with heat. One raised his hand to scan the area. Before he could speak, boom! A rock trap triggered, crushing the lead soldier. 2 others fired blindly, screaming in alien tongues. Riva tossed a flare, blinding them. Jack's bullet hit one square in the helmet. The 4th fell into a spike pit and didn't scream long. 2 left, but these 2 were different. Heavily armored, taller, officers. One held a long electric blade. The other carried a glowing orb, some kind of scanner. The scanner lit red when pointed at Riva. The blade wielder roared and charged her. "No!" Jack shouted and ran toward them, but he was too far. The enemy slashed. Clang! Riva blocked it. With a curved alien tool turned into a blade. Sparks flew. She parried, stepped back, spun, and kicked the officer hard in the chest. He staggered, but the second officer aimed the orb at Jack and fired. A wave of energy hit him in the chest, throwing him back into the mud. Riva screamed. Something inside her snapped. She dropped her blade and raised both hands. The air shimmered. The ground pulsed. Every alien rune she had carved into the dirt began to glow. Then, light exploded from the ground. The officers screamed. Their suits sparked. Their weapons melted. Riva stood in the middle of it all, glowing silver blue like a star had landed in human skin, and when the light vanished, both enemies lay still. Smoke rose. Jack coughed and sat up, holding his ribs. "Still alive, I think." Riva ran to him, helped him up. "You glowed," he said, laughing weakly, "like a goddess." She rolled her eyes, more like a scared little girl with fire in her hands. They stood in silence. No more ships came. No more drones. Just quiet. Real quiet. The sun rose slowly, painting the sky orange and pink. Jack and Riva sat on the hill, looking at the valley below. Traps half sprung, smoke in the air, walls cracked, but standing. The home was still there, and so were they. Riva reached into her pocket and pulled out a stone. She handed it to Jack. It was smooth, white, and had a single word carved into it. Family. Jack looked at her. "Are you sure?" he asked. Riva nodded. "I've never been more sure of anything." He closed his hand around the stone. "I guess we better start building something bigger." She tilted her head. "Like what?" He grinned. "A future." They stood together facing the rising sun. Aliens had come, war had come, and pain had come. But in the end, stone stood. Stars watched, and home remained.